What is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I want to talk about the SP404 Mark II and why I think it blows the SX and the A out of the water. I think this video is kind of aimed at people that are looking to get into the SP game really. If you are contemplating getting an SX or an A instead of this will probably change your mind. I appreciate these devices aren't that easy to get hold of at the moment, but I genuinely think it's worth waiting for one of these if you are thinking about getting an SP for the first time. If you are also looking to upgrade as well, I think these 10 reasons will be a massive incentive. So I'm going to go through these now. They're in no particular order, they're just 10 that I've come up with, which I think means that this device is so much better than the SX or the A. And just quickly before I start guys, if you like what I do here and you want to support me, you can check out all the links in the description below. I've got links to my beat packs and links to my merch as well, so I'd really appreciate if you could check those out. Your money goes a long way to keeping me doing what I'm doing here, so that would be great if you could check that out. So the first point, generally speaking, this device is now just a lot faster, and I think in particular, one of the things that I've noticed it's so much quicker on is transferring between projects. So if you're on the SX or the A, you'll be well aware of the pain of changing over to a new project. It's just so slow and cumbersome to do. With this device now, all I have to do is go shift project, and you can see here I'm on 9. Let's say I want to change to 1. And there we go, I'm on project 1, and if I want to change to 9 again, I mean the speed of that is just unbelievable, and that's thanks to the built-in memory now. We're not relying on the SD card to read data from all the time, so it's super fast for doing stuff like that. It's super fast for processing samples, way faster than the SX and the A, especially on changing projects. The second point that I want to raise is the import area. Now, we do have access to be able to import samples on the SX and the A directly from the SD card. There is a feature built in to do that, but this is just so much more intuitive. So we can go from shift and import. We can go to import from SD card, sample, and here are my packs here. So if I go to Lo-Fi Drums Volume 2, hats, we can scroll through, we can listen to all these, and then we can import them to whatever pad we want. And since the 1.14 update, when you import a sample, you're not booted out anymore. You can just keep going and importing more samples onto pads. So that area is super nice. It's a massive upgrade to what we had on the SX or the A. Okay, point 3, the buttons at the top here, these 6 buttons, I think apart from MFX, are now fully customizable. Now, obviously, the one downside of this, which I think is a bit of an oversight, is I think these should have just been named FX1, 2, 3, 4, 5 maybe, because when you do change them, obviously you're stuck with whatever text is on here, but it's really easy to do. You go to shift and effect settings, which is 16. You go to direct, which is one of the tabs on the top here. And you can see here, direct effects 1, that's flashing at the moment, is filter drive. I've got mine set to filter drive. FX2, which is resonator, I've got mine set to 404 vinyl sim. 3, delay, I've got mine set to warm saturator. 4 is still isolator because I use that a lot. 5 is DJ loop because I use that a lot. So you can change those to any of the MFX that you want, and it makes them super accessible and quick to do. You can't do that on the SX or the A. Okay, the next thing is built-in repitching. Now, there are a couple of hacks on the SX and the A which you can do a little bit of repitching. There is a pitching option in there, but it's terrible. You can use DJFX Looper to a certain extent to repitch things, but it comes with a very strange character to it. With this device now, you've got access to pitch and speed. So I've got a sample here. And if I go into pitch and speed, you can see here I can pitch this right down to -12 or all the way up to +7. So you can hear the difference. So it's a very similar vibe to what you get on the SP202. I've no idea why this went missing for so many versions of the SP, but it's so good to finally have this back. So now we can repitch things, add more texture, make samples sound warmer, and also match them to the tempos that we're playing with as well. So a really amazing feature, and I'm so glad that that is back on the SP. Okay, the next thing is mute groups. Now, mute groups are really handy. They're not essential, but they do make your sampling and your chopping sound smoother when you're playing them together. So all you have to do to set them up is go to shift and mute groups, which is 8. And you can see here, mute group A, and I'm going to include all these pads. And then you don't have to press enter or anything like that. You can see that they're now in the mute group. I could come out of that, press exit, and then I'm going to take gate off these. It's only actually pads 1, 2, and 3 that are the chop samples here. Sorry, so I've got that a little bit wrong, but it still works. And now I can just change between these. So you can come up with way more interesting patterns with mute groups for your chops, and it just makes your chops sound so much smoother as well. So yeah, mute groups are massive, and again, you can't do that on the SP404SX or the A. It does not include mute groups. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is effect stacking. Now, in order to have more than one effect on a pad on the SX or the A, you have to resample that pad. You no longer have to do that with this. You can stack effects on the same pad, which is super nice. So I'm going to go to my effect settings and make sure that bus 1 and 2 are in line like this. If you have it like this, bus 1 and bus 2, that means you can apply separate effects to separate pads, which is also a very, very nice feature. So you could have one effect on your samples and another effect on your drums. For this example, I'm going to stack them, so I've got them in line like this, and I'm going to apply them to pad 1 here. So the first effect that I'm going to put on bus 1, which I'm going to change by using the bus effects button here, I'm going to put vinyl sim on it. So you can hear that flutter and that noise, and then I'm going to go to bus 2, and I'm going to put some tape echo on that, just so you guys can definitely hear what's going on. So there you go, you can have more than one effect on one pad, and you can come up with some super interesting effects and add some real grit to your samples as well. Okay, the next thing which I want to mention briefly, I've actually got a whole video about this. I've got a whole video about most of these features that I'm showing you already, so please check out my channel, but it's the chopping area. So if you've got a sample like I have here on pad 1, I can go in and do shift chop, and it shows me a waveform. I can go to auto mark, and you can choose the time division. Let's say, yeah, we want 8 chops, press enter. And you can see here that it's chopped it up into 8 different sections. And I could then go ahead and assign them to my pads. You can trim them, you can change the start points and end points to make them more perfect. You can set envelopes on them as well in a separate area. So the chopping area now is a brand new feature that doesn't exist at all on the SX or the A, and it makes chopping really, really fun and easy and a lot faster as well. So yeah, the chopping area of this device is really, really nice. Okay, that kind of leads me on to my next point, which I probably should have mentioned earlier, but it's the screen. The screen gives us access to be able to do so much more than we could on the SX or the A, in particular, chopping samples a lot more precisely. So let's go into this drum sample, for example. It's just a little snare that we've got here. If I go into start and end, we are now immediately presented with the waveform of that sample, and we can easily change the start and end point using the dials. So if I want a really sort of choppy snare sound, a really quick snare sound like this, you can easily change it, and then again. So if you have imported samples and they've got dead space at the start or anything like that, look how easy it is to do that now. And on top of that, we've got 11 times zoom as well. So if we just quickly edit the start point, and then if we zoom in, you can go all the way in like that and get that exactly at the place that you want it. So I really, really like this feature. I've used it a lot since I've had this device. And yeah, on the SX and the A, you have to do all that by ear because you don't have any visual representation of the waveform. With this device, you now can, and it's a lot easier to do. So props for the screen on this. The screen is an amazing new feature, and yeah, mainly for chopping and getting your samples precise. That's where it really comes into its element. Skipback is another feature that they've introduced on this device, and this thing is crazy. I haven't actually used it enough yet, but basically this device is always listening and recording to what you're doing. So if I were to play something very, very quickly here, if I then go into mark, you can see it's flashing here. Skipback comes up, and I can listen back to exactly what I just played. Use subpad to preview it. So I've just changed the start point there, and then I'm going to press subpad. And you can hear there, the device has automatically recorded it, and that lasts for about 30 seconds, and then it wipes itself and starts again. So if you're a resampler, I think that's a huge, huge feature. You can use that very, very easily and very quickly, and then you can assign that to a pad, add effects, trim it, whatever you want to do. So yeah, the skip back function is crazy. I really think there's going to be some mad ways to utilize that, but I need to spend more time using it yet. Right guys, for this next point I've actually had to go back, set everything up again and record this because I completely forgot about the polyphony with resampling. So if things are looking a bit different in this particular area of the video, that's why I've had to reset everything up. I've tried to make it look as much like it was before. So I had to come back and mention about resampling. If you're an SX or an A user, you'll be well aware of the polyphony limits that you get when you're trying to resample. So basically what this means is there's only a certain amount of pads that you can resample at one time without the device cutting out and stopping any sound whatsoever. So luckily with this device they've completely sorted that out, and now we can pretty much resample whatever we want at the same time, and it will all be there on the pad when we're done. So I'll just do a quick demonstration. So I'm going to go ahead and press resample, and it's the same chops that I've been using throughout the whole video. I'm going to go on pad 10, and it says here now press pad to start, and I'm just going to go ahead and drum out a little thing. Okay, so I wasn't trying to do anything good there, that was just really, really rough, but I just wanted to show you guys that the resampling didn't cut out at all there, and I can go ahead and listen to that back on pad 10. Okay, so I won't play the whole thing there, but you get the idea. There's 32 polyphony limit now on resampling, so you can go really nuts with this and resample loads of different stuff at the same time without interruption. If you're a resampler, this is definitely a game changer. It just makes resampling and creating beats with resample so much easier. So yeah, apologies if this area looked different, but I just had to go back and mention this point. Okay, last but by no means least is the USB connectivity. Now we've got access to USB on the back. That means quite a few things. You can use this as an audio interface, which is absolutely crazy. So if you want to listen to sounds out of your computer, plug this in via USB, choose it as an output and plug your headphones in and you're good to go. So if you don't have access to decent speakers, you've now got this. It also means you can transfer samples to and from it. And if you're like me and like recording into a DAW to finish your beats off, you can use the USB to send audio to it as well. And last but by no means least on this point, you can use this as a MIDI controller, which is absolutely crazy as well. So in Ableton, I can actually use these pads on a drum rack to trigger the samples in Ableton using that USB cable. There's probably more stuff you can do with that as well, but that's just kind of a brief overview of the USB cable. And again, like with all these things, you don't get this with the SX or the A. Okay guys, I hope you found this useful. I really do like this device and I think it's such a massive upgrade from the SX or the A. I have hardly touched my SX since I've got this device because it can just do everything that can and more. I will go into more details about certain features and certain differences between these devices in future videos, so stay tuned for those. But yeah, overall, if you're looking to get into the SP game, I hope this was useful. I definitely recommend holding out and trying to get a Mark II now. I really don't think there's much point getting an A or an SX. So like I mentioned at the start of the video, if you want to support what I do, check out my links below in the description. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will be back with more content very soon. Peace!